I would like to introduce our second mentor of the day. Justin Grout is Welding and Metal Fabrication Training Department Team Lead for Irving Shipbuilding. Hi, Justin. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me here today.
Thank you for being here. Can you tell the students a little bit about welding and metal fabrication?
Sure. So welding and metal fabrication, of course, the building everybody's sitting in today, that majority of that is going to be made of metal. The fabrication side is kind of taking those pieces and fitting them together. And then the welding side is how we actually join them, with a molten metal puddle. At a very kind of high level, the fabrication side is more, putting it all together. And then the welding is just that kind of final step of actually joining those pieces.
I have a question. This just occurred to me, and maybe it occurred to the students as well. I'm not sure, but we just had Hillary on, and she mentioned that she often works with metal as a carpenter. So what would be the difference between a carpenter working with metal and a metal fabricator?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I just threw that at you.
So a metal fabricator, we definitely, in our shipbuilding industry, we wouldn't have too much wood around here because just it's flammable, and can start a fire easily. So we don't have too much wood here. I know some carpenters, and like Hillary, there's definitely lots that would use metal kind of throughout their day. But on the metal fabrication side, we don't use too much wood at all. We might use it to kind of bump things into place, or have it, to sit down on something so that we can pick it up with a piece of equipment. But yeah, the carpenters would be far better with the wood than the metal fabricators would be.
Okay. Can you speak a little bit about the training and the education that's required for both welding and metal fabrication?
Sure. So the most common kind of method is through a local college. So here in Nova Scotia, it'd be Nova Scotia Community College. I know for the metal fabrication and the welding, that's a 2-year program. And the first year is actually the same for both programs. So after the first year, then you decide kind of what you want to focus on more. You either go into the welding for the second year or metal fabrication for the second year. So that first year is a shared curriculum, and then it's just what do you like most? What do you find most engaging? What gives you that sense of satisfaction? Do you really like, that welding, or do you want to step back, build something large, and then just kind of take it in and see it? So it's, you do get to pick which one you want to go into, but they are a very closely related trade as well. So lots of people that do metal fabrication, they will also weld. Outside of Irving, at other smaller companies, you would do both. So you'll fabricate the piece, you'll get a drawing, you'll get your pieces, you'll put it together, most of the time with somebody else. And then you'll also then weld that piece. Outside of Irving, it's a lot of welder fitter jobs. So that you do have to have kind of both of those skills.
That's a great answer. And I love the fact that you sort of have like an overview, and then you specialize sort of into whichever you find most interesting. That's very cool. Can you talk a little bit, Justin, about what you do at Irving Shipbuilding? So first of all, to give an idea of if the students aren't aware of what is going on here, because this is such an incredible opportunity for employment within Nova Scotia, and then specifically what your job is as a training department team lead there.
Sure. So currently we're working on a Canadian Coast Guard ship. So we have 2 of those coming up, and we're doing the last patrol vessel. That's what we're working on now. And then after that, we have a contract for 15 ships for the Canadian Navy. So that's going to be about 30 plus years of work for us. So it's a spot that has long-term employment, somewhere that we hope that people can start work, grow a career, and then retire from. That was one of the draws for myself You know, when I did my interview, it was, can I retire here? Do I have long-term employment? Because in the past, of course, trades were very up and down. You might have to go away. I am one of the people that worked in Alberta doing big oil and gas. So I've done, you know, the fly in, fly out camp jobs. And it's good for experience, excellent experience. But at a certain point, you know, you start to look at different things. Maybe you want to start a family. Maybe you have kids. You know, you don't want to miss a lot of those moments as well. So, you know, that's just a piece of it. Sorry, I was looking at my note at the same time. Sorry about that. But yeah, can you repeat that question again? I'm so sorry.
No, not it. That
Yeah.
was perfect. You answered that perfectly. So you answered the first part. My second part was, what do you do as a
Oh,
team,
yeah.
a team lead? Yeah.
Of course, sorry. Yeah. So I have 6 instructors that report to me. So I have 3 welding instructors and 3 metal fabrication instructors. And we train the entire workforce here for those 2 trades. So we have other trades as well, of course, like electrical, pipe fitting, painting, and those trades also have instructors in them that would teach, you know, specific skills to those people in the trades. So, you know, if we have a new drawing that comes out from a different company and the workforce doesn't know how to read that drawing, that would be our department that would, you know, get training plan together, schedule all the training for, you know, 300 people to go through a drawing training across 3 different shifts and across 3 different locations. So, you know, I'm kind of in charge of scheduling all the training that takes place, what the content of the training is, how effective it is, you know, is it working? We always want a lot of feedback from the employees to see, you know, is this helpful? You know, is it exactly what you need? And then just the day-to-day is kind of putting out any emergencies that come up. You know, I try and keep my schedule kind of open so that I can just bounce around all of the instructors and ensure they have what they need, and just, yeah, make sure that they can do their job as best as possible. With the size of the workforce, we go through a lot of material here. So that's another kind of large piece of the job, is just, you know, ordering that, finding somewhere to put it, processing it, making it into different projects for the students to work on, and then to pass their tests so that they can go back on the floor and into production. So that's kind of my job. I was an instructor here at the shipyard for 2.5 years before I moved into the lead role. So that, you know, is just helpful because I know what the instructors go through on the day-to-day basis and kind of what their challenges are. So you know, they decided to put me into the role just because I had kind of the most time, you know, in at that point.
I love that. And I love how you're demonstrating the ability again to, you know, grow your career and move on and develop that. And can you speak a little bit about your own background? So you said, you know, here you can go to NSCC and what you did, and then you went to the oil field, but what skills specifically did you, and what opportunities did you have to develop that to get to where you are today?
Sure. So a little background on me. My father actually has a welding business. So I was kind of born into it, I guess we'll say. You know, at an early age, I was fortunate. I got to work in the garage with him over the years. So I actually graduated high school early when I was 17 and then moved right into an apprenticeship. So there's kind of 2 traditional routes. We did talk about the going to school. The other route that some people take, like myself, is you go get a job and then the employer signs you up to be an apprentice. So then you start gathering hours and you go back to school for 8-week blocks. So I would have went to school for 2 months at a time, you know, every time I hit a certain hour mark. So at 2,000 hours, I went to school. At 4,000, at 6,000. And then at 8,000 hours, I wrote my red seal to become a journey person welder. So, you know, that was the route I took, and that was about 15 years ago now. That is a more challenging route to take because it can be difficult to get employers to take people that have 0 experience, of course, and sign them up. So, you know, it can work out depending on who you might know and kind of some contacts. But the best route by far is to go through, you know, a school, get a diploma or a certificate. You know, learn a lot of those trade skills during that time in school. You know, lots of time, good instructors, lots of projects that are going to help, you know, relate to what you're going to be doing in your career. Yeah, so like I said, I graduated high school, and then I was doing the welding for my father's company. And then I actually, I took a little break from that when I was 18, and I went to try and be a golf club manager. So you know, I had a hobby at the time. I was good at golf, and 18 years old, I didn't have a full scope. I didn't do enough research, you know, and that's one thing I wish I had known, is really looking at, you know, how employable am I after I get that piece of paper. So for the golf one, you know, it was a big passion for me. But we were told very early on that you're a seasonal worker. You're going to work here for 6 months. You're going to have to move to Florida in the winter to have a paycheck. And you know, if you're at a golf course, you're there at 4 a.m, getting there before things start, you know, and just, I didn't realize what I was getting myself into, essentially. And then unfortunately, the money just wasn't very good either. And, you know, as you grow up and get older, you realize that, hey, I need money to do things, to, you know, start a life, to get a house, all those type of things. So I did that for 4 months and then realized that, nope, this isn't for me. And, you know, I went back to my father's company, and then, you know, just had the one goal of, I'm going to be a welder. I was fortunate to do that for 7 years or so. And then I got a job at Nova Scotia Community College. So I taught welding there for 4 years. So that was a great experience. Got to work alongside my father, where he's an instructor there as well. So that was, you know, invaluable experience. Got to learn a lot from him and from the other instructors there. And that kind of created a passion for teaching and just helping other people, really showing them, you know, from day one, what you can do, and seeing that aha moment in somebody when they, you know, if they didn't have it, and then you were able to help, you know, flick that switch for them and get them. That's an extremely rewarding thing. So when my contract was done at school, I then went back to my father's company. I worked there for another couple of years as a lead welding supervisor. And then I got a call from actually one of my first apprentices. He was a welding instructor at Irving, and he had always been trying to get me to come here. And he called me in the summer of 2019, and we had a good conversation. And at that point, I knew I was missing kind of that feeling of helping people and teaching. So I decided to go back into the welding instruction. And like I said, I did that for 2.5 years before kind of making the jump to the team lead position. And now I'm just trying to, you know, give my instructors all the tools they need to do their job. You know, and it's rewarding seeing those instructors, you know, start from a new instructor and really see them progress and see them get more comfortable with the students, with instruction, with, you know, speaking in front of lots of people, because that's a big fear for many people. You know, I remember being in high school, I did not want to speak in my English class when there was a paper we had to do. But it was great to just kind of get out of the comfort zone and do it. And you feel much better about it after the fact, and know that, hey, I can do this. You know, it's not so bad. So, and yeah, that's kind of an overview of me.
That's wonderful, and so many points there to touch on. I love the fact that you started at something, and it's important for students to know. I think that you can change your mind, right? Yeah. You can change your mind over and over and over, as long as you continue to make good decisions, right? And all of those experiences lead and help you to grow into, you know, other areas of your career.
For sure. And that's, you know, at the time as a 18-year-old, I thought I was failing, you know, by taking that step back. But I'm so much happier that I did, you know, knowing that, if you're not happy in the career, if you're not getting, enjoyment from it, kind of what good is it? At some point, of course, we all have jobs and we all have to work, but you can go into a field that gives you enjoyment, and that you have some passion, and that you want to go to work every day and really make a difference. And that's something nice with us with shipbuilding. It's a very large ship. You get to walk in every day. You get to see what's progressed. If you took a week's vacation, when you come back in a week, that ship looks different. You see what happened to it. You see parts of it painted. Now parts of it have electrical in it. Parts of it have pipe in it. They start to take those Lego blocks and kind of start building them up. So it's extremely interesting just to see the progression of that every day. It's just a really cool project. And myself included, you do learn something every day here, which is great. A lot of people don't do that at their place of employment. I've been here 4 years now and can definitely say I learn something every day I'm here. Whether it's about our internal kind of structure, or just out on the floor with the ship itself, or maybe out in the water where one of the ships is sitting. It's very interesting to go into there and see all the finished compartments, and go into the engine room and see the tight spaces and just all the inner workings of that ship. So it's probably the most interesting project I've ever worked on. My father's company was a lot of little small projects that we would do, lots of staircases and ramps and excavators and buckets and things like that. But generally the project was done in a day or a week. These ships take years to complete. So it is very interesting to see the whole process, and see how many people it takes to get that job done, how many people can come together and work as a team, with one goal. Everybody's here to help. We want to see if we have questions, we ask. We have I believe the largest apprenticeship program in the province as well. So we have a lot of new people, and just, it doesn't mean that they're 19 years old. We have people that are 40, 50 years old, and it's their first day here, right? So apprentices are all ages. Like you said, you can change your mind at any point and try something different. So it's just great to see how happy people are to come into work and work on that project, and really have enjoyment for what they're doing.
It's wonderful information. Thank you, Justin. In a minute, I'm gonna invite teachers and students to ask you some questions through the chat. Two things I don't want to miss out on, that I want to make sure we cover. One is pay, so starting pay, and then as you transition. And then the second thing, before I forget, maybe we can speak a little bit about safety. So
sure. So pay scale, definitely, again, we are a larger company, so fortunately we pay a little better than some competitors in the local industry. So an apprentice rate at Irving, the lowest you would make starting off, and this is today's numbers, years from now these numbers will be higher, of course, but so an apprentice with no experience would start at $30 an hour, and then that goes up to $38 an hour. So then if you were a journey person, the starting rate is $43 per hour, and then there's different skills premiums, so you can go as high as $49 an hour as a journey person. So that would be on day shift, and then we do have 3 different shifts. So there's an afternoon shift and then an overnight shift. So on the shift 2, you actually get 25% on top of your base rate, and then on shift 3 you get 30% on top of it. So we do have a lot of people, like most of our tradespeople would be, if you're a journey person, you'd be the $95,000 to $110,000 kind of range, which is extremely good for the province. There's no question there. They pay well also because it is hard work. There's no question there. There's hot days, there's cold days, there's days where things aren't fitting well and you have to figure it out. There's a lot of troubleshooting involved in it as well. But we want to ensure that we're paying people as much as we possibly can, understanding that it is a difficult job, and we want you to show up, have a good attitude and go to work. But we do have a lot of people as well that would go on those other shifts. Maybe they have childcare, and they have to go on the second or the third shift, or it just works better for their family life. So we do try and accommodate all those things, but knowing that, hey, you're going to get paid a little more if you're on the afternoon or the night shift. And then on the safety side, did you have anything specific you wanted to?
I know when speaking with some other people, and particularly with your colleague Matt Burke last week, also from Irving Shipbuilding, people have concerns specifically around welding, right? So, just I think what PPE is required, or
Okay.
how do you make sure that everyone is safe at the job?
Yeah. So in terms of everyone's safety, of course, we would have procedures for Irving, and then, procedures throughout Nova Scotia that we have to follow, but we do try and go above those to ensure everyone's safety. So, welding, metal fabrication, anything that's hot work definitely creates fumes that are not good for you. So, anytime you're doing that here, you have to use a respirator, or we have special welding helmets that have supplied air to them that, blow air into your helmet so that you're always breathing filtered air. That would be one thing. If we're welding, we would have leather jackets on, we long sleeve shirts under that, long gloves. They kind of look like an oven mitt, basically, that goes, halfway up your forearm. Safety glasses, earplugs is one that people forget a lot. My father being a welder, his hearing's not very good because years ago, the PPE was not, as important as it is today. So his hearing is not very good. So, I've always really tried to put the earplugs in at all times because, the hearing and your eyesight, you only get one shot at that. So we really do ensure that people are being as safe as possible. We have safety teams that walk around as well, checking in. If they see something, say something. That's, the biggest thing with us. And it doesn't matter who you are. If you're the owner of the company and you walk through the door, we would stop you and say, hey, you have to have your hard hat on, your gloves, your glasses. It's a very safety conscious work site because we come here to go home, essentially, and we want to make sure that's rings true for everyone. And with the amount of apprentices we have, there's a big focus on safety culture as well. If we can get everybody used to being safe early on in their career, they're just going to continue to do that as they progress. So, on the welding side, there can definitely be some warm days, when it's 35 degrees and you have to put a leather jacket on and then weld something at a couple 100 degrees. It's warm. And those are the things you kind of get a feel for while you're in school as well, to say, hey, is this for me? When you're in shop at your college, sometimes that's when you say, oh, this really isn't for me. I'd rather be kind of behind a computer in an office. And there's nothing wrong with that at all either. It's just, you have to figure out what's right for you. Yeah.
Thank you. That's wonderful, Justin. Some questions in the chat for you. Someone asked, what kinds of decisions do you need to make in your job? I'm not sure what they mean exactly. Do you answer to people, and do you direct others? So I guess as a manager, or team lead.
Yeah. I mean, I would get a vast kind of, mixed bag of questions daily. And I don't always have the answers. I just know who to ask for the answers. So, when something, especially subject matter experts, which we have a lot of in our training department, people think that we have the answer for absolutely everything. We do not. We just know how to find the answers. We have a very good base knowledge and know a lot of things. But that's the biggest thing, is just knowing where to find the information, collaborating with others, having good relationships with other departments. Safety and our department have a very good relationship. We work closely with each other, as well as, engineering, quality control, things like that. There would be lots of things that come across my desk that I don't have an answer for. And, I as well have a manager above me and then a director. So if I'm unsure, then I'm going to him or her, whoever it may be. But generally, since I've been in the role for a couple of years now, I have a lot of the answers and can just work on past experience to help myself out with that.
Perfect.
Hopefully that answered that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great answer. Yeah. From a grade 7 student, do you know how much, interesting question, how much an underwater welder makes?
Ooh, so I know it's more than an average welder. I can tell you that for sure. The hardest part with underwater welding is it's a very niche market. There's so few, people that would do it, but there's also, it's a much more dangerous job as well. Myself, I was a terrible swimmer as a kid, so it was never in the cards for me. I pretty much sink. I don't swim very well. But I know it's, 2 or 3 times what a regular welder would make. It's probably going to be $200,000 plus, $250,000. But with that, you are jumping boat to boat. You're traveling around the world in some cases, which is great. But other cases, it might not be for everyone. But yeah, underwater welding, the videos I've seen looks super cool. I know they do it in Prince Edward Island at Holland College. There's an underwater welding there. That's the only one I know of. But yeah, extremely interesting job though. Yeah.
That's great. I have one more question. We'll wait and see if there's any more in the chat. First, I want to say, though, Justin, we're so very fortunate to have you here today. And Irving Shipbuilding has been an incredible supporter of these skilled trades World of Choices learning experiences over the past month. So thank you to Irving Shipbuilding for that. Lastly, can you give, because everyone says there are not enough skilled trades workers out there, give us an example of the demand and specifically, what the opportunities are right now and in the next 5 years?
Yeah, we just did a large hiring spree where we hired 350 employees, within a 4-month time frame because we needed to get more resources. I'm also on a team that does recruiting, so I've gone, a couple places around the world as well to try and get people internationally that have, that worked at other shipyards that have, a decade plus of new build experience, because shipbuilding is rather new in Canada. We just don't have the experience that other shipyards around the world does. And I can say firsthand, it is extremely difficult to get people and to get them here. So we have large labor shortages, obviously, like you've mentioned, kind of across all trades. But we're also, it's hard to fill the roles right now. We have lots of open job postings, and that will just continue because our next contract, we're going to grow about 1.5 times. So there's going to be a lot of jobs open, in that next decade. I would say kind of in that next 10-year market, it's going to be quite large where we're always looking for people. So yeah, it is a great time to get into a trade. There's no question there. It's great to see this type of thing happening as well, because when I was in school, I was, always pushed to strictly a university. College or, trades were never really talked about at all. So it's, it's great to be part of this and, hopefully get somebody interested in picking up a torch or, going to do some carpentry, just trying to use your hands and see what you can make. Super fun.
I'm sure that you and Hillary have inspired some future skilled trades people for sure this morning.
Awesome.
In the last 20 seconds that we have with you, Justin, what advice do you have for the students that we haven't touched on? Is there anything that you'd like to say?
Biggest thing for me, obviously, working hard, great attitude, those are great, but just listen. When you have those people that have been doing it for many years and that are teaching you, they're generally teaching you for a good reason, because they know what they're talking about. So, really be a sponge, take all that information you can and really soak it in and try and be better every day. Learn that one thing a day and just be a little bit better the next day because of it. That's it.
That's wonderful. I see I missed a couple of questions. Can we take,
Of
just a
course,
few more
yeah.
minutes? I'm going to fire
Yeah.
these at you.
Sure.
What has been your favorite project?
I would say the current one, like the Arctic offshore patrol vessels that we're working on. Probably that would be the favorite project so far. just seeing that from start to finish, from a piece of steel all the way into a ship that's, you know, floating in the harbor. Yeah, definitely the best project so far.
Great. And this is from a student who's interested in welding. What type of welding do you prefer?
Ooh, there's a lot of different processes, but my favorite would be TIG welding. It's about the cleanest way to weld, and it looks the most visually appealing. So, you know, it's called gas tungsten arc welding is, you know, the actual term. But if you were to go online, just TIG, TIG welding. Yeah, when we get into different materials like stainless steels, you can see the colors of the rainbow in the weld, and you can see lots of just really nice work with that welding process. So it's definitely my favorite.
And lastly, and this is important, is everyone treated equally in terms of whether you are a first-year apprentice or an experienced tradesperson at Irving Shipbuilding?
That is a great question. And actually, yeah, we do account for that. So welding, one of the things is we all go to the same standard. So whether or not you're brand new or you've been doing it for 30 years, you still have to meet the same standard. So what we do at Irving is we give apprentices more time. So, you know, if it takes me 4 hours, I'm going to give you 8 hours to do it. We're going to expect the same standard, but we're going to have people there to help you out with that as well. So we definitely build time into the projects as well, knowing how many apprentices we have, and knowing that we're here to help build shipbuilders. And that takes time to do it. So, you know, all brand new people they're not going to get it done as quickly as I can, but that's fine. You know, first you get good, then you get fast.
Perfect answer. Thank you so much, Justin. Thank you, teachers and students, for being here this morning. And huge thank you to the Department of Education and Early Childhood Development for partnering with JA Nova Scotia on this. Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon.